but she was my rock. She was just always here.
She used to say, no matter what, I don't care how old I get, I ain't never leaving my mama. I ain't never leaving home. And she stuck true to that. Never left. You couldn't pay her. I ain't never leave my mama.
She took everything from me. She was everything to me.
Diane Winston was driving with her mother in Richmond's Jackson Ward neighborhood to deliver a meal to a relative when she was struck by a stray bullet.
Hey, we need to paramedics on the ambulance here, right here on Hill Street.
Where on Hill?
A lady.
Okay, and is the person awake and breathing who was shot?
She's breathing. She's in the car.
Veteran Richmond homicide detective Jeff Crewell led the investigation into her murder.
The suspect would have approached on a bicycle. The suspect would have been in this area, discharged a handgun north on St. James Street. At the same time, Diane would have been sitting in the passenger seat of her mom's vehicle down there at the end of the block in the 1200 block, and the bullet would have struck the windshield of the vehicle, and that's where the vehicle is located when officers respond, and that's where they come into contact with Diane for the first time. Richmond ambulance responded and transported Diane to the hospital, but unfortunately she died at the hospital.
Winston's murder was the type of killing that police consider among the most difficult to solve. A bystander, killed by a stranger, slain by a bullet intended for someone else.
I didn't see a person on the street. I didn't see anything. I just heard a shot, and I was like, uh-oh, they're shooting, and I said, I'm going to duck like this. And she never said anything. And then when I set up, something hit me in the face, and the bullet had came through the windshield. And I looked at her, and it was a bullet right on the side of her eye right here.
Winston is one of more than 50,000 homicide victims in major American cities since 2007. More than half of those killings have never resulted in an arrest, according to an analysis by the Washington Post. Most of the departments surveyed struggle with low homicide arrest rates. Richmond police are one of the few exceptions. Within hours, residents came forward with anonymous tips.
Where's your emergency?
I don't have emergency. I'm calling about the shooting over in Gibson Court in Jackson Ward.
Yes, sir.
A lady got shot. The dude that shot her, his name is Rabbit. I don't know his full name.
Would you like to leave your name or anything? You'd like to remain anonymous?
No.
Police chief said that in most of the unsolved murders, investigators know the killer's identity, but can't persuade potential witnesses to cooperate. With the nickname Rabbit, detectives flooded the streets in search of a witness. Their strategy when canvassing is to walk up to each home and ask whoever answers what, if anything, they saw. Because they go to everyone, they can assure anyone providing information that their neighbors won't know it was them.
Well, the detectives on the scene went through that process, and in doing so, that's when we established one of the primary witnesses.
So I was sitting in my car, and I seen two dudes on my left side walking up on their bikes, and they stopped like in a walkway up there. And as I had my head down, I heard some shots. So I looked up and I seen a dude shooting. He just walked away, rode over on his bike after that.
He didn't know it at the time, but Kenneth Moore was the only known witness who saw Winston's murderer. In a lineup, he identified 23-year-old George Watson Scott as the shooter. Watson Scott was arrested and charged with second-degree murder.
You know, I'm grateful for him not even listening to the code of the streets and be like, no, I can't say nothing, that's snitching. A lot of guys that's like, they live by that. They was raised by that.
Yeah.
You know? And I appreciated that he didn't listen to that and was like, I gotta help this family, so.
We have tips, we have leads, we have suspects, but if folks aren't willing to come to court and testify, it's all for naught.
In Richmond, the police department is one of 3 of the 50 surveyed that have made an arrest in more than 70% of homicides. Chief Durham attributes this to diligent police work and years of persistent community outreach.
And I think the community here is really, really supportive of the police department. I think the numbers speak for themselves, that we're making closures on these cases. And that's the most important thing, to know that the person who perpetrated the heinous crime is out of my community, off the streets. And that's so important.
Moore did testify, and in June 2017, Watson Scott was found guilty of second-degree murder. He was sentenced to 24 years in prison. He's appealing the court's decision.
I really stress the fact that it wasn't a difficult investigative case. It was a relatively straightforward case to investigate. It was more or less the cooperation of witnesses that at the end of the day made the difference.
Weeks after Watson Scott's conviction, Moore was reminded that coming forward was not without a price.
Well, I went into the store, go get my sodas and chips. I come out, I seen 3 guys, one like in my corner eye, and I guess they were trying to surround me, but I got away. And I seen a brick coming towards my front shed window with the sticks, and it bounced off my front shed window and hit the side of my car.
Out of concerns for his safety, Moore and his family were quickly relocated by the department. Despite the changes he's had to endure, he has no regrets.
Like I said, we did about codes, the street code and all that, but codes, rules to me to be broken sometimes too. So that's what I did, and I could live with that.